Okay, this is my evaluation of this maxtra extended reach pole saw. I had researched it pretty good. It had some decent reviews, not many, but the biggest issue happened to be with the engine, which I took as a grain of salt because to some the engine is like voodoo. When you ship an engine to different parts of the country, you have to adjust the carburetors to run in your environment. Something that runs at the Gulf of Mexico might have issues in the Rocky Mountains. So that did not affect my decision. So I bought this thing to do some trimming in my yard. I have oak trees that once, twice, maybe 3 times a year I'll have to trim. Okay, I bought this thing back in June of 22. All right, the first time I used it, everything was fairly good. The second time I used it, I had some issues with it. The shaft snapped off. You can see that. That's the one that snapped off. It snapped off into one of those cutting heads. Had a real hard time getting that piece out. So I didn't think anything of it other than perhaps just a bad shaft. So I contacted Maxtra, and I must say they were fairly willing to help, but they didn't never correct the entire issue. The problem is this shaft that they have is a very poor design. You can see how it twists. The first shaft twisted all the way from the head all the way to the engine, but right there at the head, it snapped off. Okay, they sent me a new pole after hee-hawing around for a while. Okay, on this new pole I got, lo and behold, I don't know if you can see it, but the new pole started twisting the shafts again, and it snapped off also, and I could not cut. So the issue with this thing is there's just too much backlash in this shaft. The shaft material is either a poor grade for the service of which it was intended, it's a design defect, and they know about it. Okay, when this first broke, they sent me the new pole. Okay, now they come back and say, well, perhaps there's too much wear. I use the saw too much. How can you use the saw too much? You didn't even run 1 tank of gas through it. Okay, the other issue is they said I abused it. Well, okay, how can I abuse it cutting branches? It's an impossibility. If I need to cut a big one, I bring out my Husqvarna. But either way, I would not recommend this pole to anybody, because the pole that sent me, there's probably a year difference between the parts. And so surely if they had bad parts issue, they would have recalled all of that. But after about a year getting the new stuff and it twists right off the first use, that tells me it's a design defect, which they know. I'll read you some emails about that. But they refuse to fix the issue by taking this defective designed saw back. Okay, this is eventually what I had to finish the job with. I bought this a number of years back, $40, $50. It is very low power, but I can tell you hands down, it sure beats using this thing. This engine's got a lot of power, probably too much power for the design that they have in the pole. One notable difference on this saw, because it's so low powered, they use what they call a skip tooth chain. Therefore, you don't have as much cutting power as this chain, which is a full toothed chain. So this chain here cuts way more aggressively than this chain here. But the problem is, when these lengths go across your cut, Every time that tooth works across the cut, it loads that shaft. Okay, the issue with this design is there is so much backlash and slop in this pole that it will not last. It cannot last because that shaft is turning back and forth, 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 back and forth. So the hammer affects that, just like a cotton picking water hammer effect. And the power of that engine and the design of this shaft and the amount of backlash is in that shaft, the grade of steel in that shaft, this cannot possibly work. Okay, this is the coupler that fits inside one of those poles. And that's intermediate bearing that supports the shaft. The problem with this is a 9-spline coupler and shaft. Here's the problem. It is extremely loose, and look how much slop is in this thing. Too much slop. If you turn around and you plug this in to the online calculator that calculates the specifications for this type of spline, number of splines and the shaft diameter, major and minor measurements and all this backlash in here should be between 2 and 6 thousandths. 2 and 6 thousandths. The backlash in this one here, I had measured in another previous video, was probably close to 20-25 thousandths. It's extremely high backlash. And therefore, with the twisting, this thing goes back and forth like this as that saw cuts. There's absolutely no way that these splines are going to take that much abuse. So therefore, they either twist or they turn around and snap off. Okay, these are the type of trees that I have in my yard, the live oaks, and the branches have a tendency to droop down. So I trim them 2, maybe 3 times a year. All the cuts I made with this saw are these branches. Nothing ever touched this saw over 3 inches, and that is putting it at a stretch. This saw cannot handle the shaft cannot handle the power that engine puts out. Okay, I promised to send some email with this. After discussing several emails back and forth, they wrote me, if you could please let us know your suggestion on how to solve this issue. Looking forward to hearing from you. In response to this, I made a video of that shaft, the measurements of the shaft, and the engineering that goes behind making that particular shaft, showing that it was a very poor design defect, that shaft could never support that much backlash. Okay, this is a response to that email after they got the videos. So we need to forward this information to our factory for details. Please wait for some time. Have a nice weekend, Jenna. Okay, this is a response I got back. It says, Buster, we have just got the reply from our factory that we have indeed identified an issue with tolerance in our products. However, it's important to note that the occurrence of this problem is very rare. In the past, we have not received any feedback from customers regarding the shaft damage due to tolerance issues, which is why we did not thoroughly investigate this matter earlier. Rest assured that we are currently conducting a detailed analysis and research into this problem. In the meantime, we'd like to send you the required spare parts to address any concerns that you may have. Will this be acceptable for you? We kindly request that you do not overly worry about this issue for now. Thank you for your understanding. We apologize for any inconvenience caused. If you have any further questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact us. Await your reply, Jenna. And this would be the third pole that they sent. The first two, defective. Okay. Another response from them after I responded to that other one. We discussed this issue with our sales department, the issue of high tolerance or loose fit. Again, so how about we send you a new head with the pole? You give it a try. Looking forward to your reply. Once again, they wanting to buy me off with a third pole. It's been a year, a little over a year since I bought this thing. I only got 3 uses out of it. The first pole failed. Almost a year separation between the parts and the second one. That one failed right off the bat, and 3 strikes and you're out. I do not want to try a third pole. The problem is, it is a design defect, fully admitted by them, and they should take this saw back and give me my money, because all I have now is an expensive paperweight. Okay, this is the last email I got from them. It says, thank you for raising your concerns with us. We want to assure you that upon receiving your email, we will make every effort to address your issue by offering to send a replacement part to resolve the problem. Unfortunately, it seems that you are hesitant to give us the opportunity to rectify this situation. It is important to note that our warranty explicitly covers the provision of a replacement parts or damaged items, and we stand by that commitment, even if your order has exceeded a warranty period. This was because I raised the question of product liability. They think that they can stand behind a disclaimer saying that they're not responsible, but here's the problem. They admitted to a defect. If that defect causes bodily harm or anything damage in any kind of way, that corporate veil can be easily pierced. And this is what I responded. I am not hesitant. Have I not gone down that road before? The issue is whether or not the parts actually resolve the issue. Bad parts is bad parts, and I only actually got to use this saw 3 times. I applaud your efforts, as others say, nay, and you have a bad reputation on the net, but it's like pulling on the reins of a dead horse. It will not get up. I would gladly receive parts that actually would solve the issue, but you cannot, by your own admission, fulfill. Like I said, I will send you a link in the future. All I have now is a paperweight. So right now it stands. I got this saw, cannot use it. It's just a dead paperweight. They refuse to take the saw back. And how long are they going to keep sending me parts? The problem with this is they've already spent more money in sending me parts than what it would have cost to give me my $240 back. So I do not recommend this pole saw to anybody for the issues concerned.